Run it up. Run it up.
What is up, everybody? What is up? I am stoked to be here. I spent probably like 6 hours yesterday setting up the stream, specifically audio. And yeah, I went through like 4 different mics, 2 different sound devices, and finally got this working. So please tell me, give me a thumbs up if the audio finally sounds okay. Because for the longest time, it just sounded like I was underwater. And somebody just said, audio sucks. Really? God, that is disheartening. What is going on with the sound? For some reason, I can't hear anything. I'm really upset that I can't wear headphones that give me sound. Audio is really bad. Fucking fantastic. Let's see. Alright, give me a sec, guys. So what specifically is bad about the sound? Is the volume really low? Is the volume really high? Because everything I tested sounded great. So what do we got going on that's not working? Heavy distortion? Anything now? Scratchy audio. Is your mic rubbing against something? No, not at all. No, the mic is running into the Rode Streamer X. Let's see. Let me come into audio. Yeah, Rode. Unified chat. Sounds better now. Better? Now it's good. I think there was a sound effect that was going on. Why are these things always so freaking difficult? I didn't turn a sound effect on, but that's what we get. All right. Anyway, last time it took us like 10 minutes to figure it out, so I'm pumped that it sounds good now. I'm going to throw in my headphones. Dear God, I hope it doesn't like screw this up, because I'm going to need these for the guest. Okay. Well, what's up, everybody? I am pumped because we have an awesome guest today to kind of give us the lowdown on a huge update that's coming. That if you're a Lumix shooter or somebody that's wanted to get into the Lumix system, but you've had your hesitations because of some certain things that were going on in this new generation of cameras. Well, Lumix might have just solved all of that for you. And I've got a guest. Where is my guest? Buddy, let's see. Let me send you that link again now that I'm live. Oop. Just hit me up when you're in there. So a bunch of you guys guessed as to who was going to be in there. Why don't you keep guessing? We'll see what's happening here. There he is. There he is. Sean Robinson from Lumix, the Lumix genius. Can you hear me okay, Sean? Because I don't have audio from you. Why is it always audio, guys? I still don't have audio. Let me check here. Audio.
Does that sound better now?
There we go. Sean, I got you. Everybody, slow clap it up for Sean.
Slow clap, yeah.
Sean, today's a pretty big day for
how's it going,
Lumix.
man? Yeah, it's definitely been a hard thing to kind of keep this one a little quiet.
Yeah. I'm surprised I didn't blow it early.
Definitely stuff. I mean, you know, it's always good to like not have that happen, but I'm honestly surprised how we made it all the way to literally the announcement and like not even a whiff of it had come out anywhere.
No rumors, no nothing.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. I mean, in this day and age with like how people like can find information, even if like they don't like have direct sources, they somehow find a way to like just guess or figure stuff out. But I'm just happy we made it this far, and I'm really excited people are actually getting to be able to play around with that you guys get to play with the firmware. Everyone else has to wait like 24 hours or 12 hours, whatever the time is. So
that was a really low-key way of saying what's happening here before you kind of make the announcement, because I'm sure it's live on YouTube. There is one super chat, so I want to acknowledge that. Keep up the good work, homie. I will do I almost said breast. I will do my breast. I will do my best, Chris. I hope you're doing well. So as Sean so low-key put it, there's an update that come out, but it's not a low-key update. This is a significant update, and there's so much to it, and there's a lot of technicality to it, and that's why I asked Sean to join me, because I frankly do not have the time right now to make a huge video to get into the weeds. But the S1R Mark II Sean put this in my hands, I want to say like 6 months ago. And since doing that, this camera has become like a staple of like my everyday life. I use it for almost everything. I think it's the best BTS camera I ever made. But there was one thing that kind of like made it so I couldn't use it in a few more situations. And Sean hit me up, I want to say like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and said, hey, we've got a firmware update that might be solving all of your issues and everybody else's. So, Sean, why don't you take us through what Lumix has done to this update?
Yeah. So, there's I'd say kind of like two or three different like sections of this update. I'd put it. So like obviously, we've gotten a lot of the feedback from users for almost the entire summer about thermals with all three of the cameras. So S12, S1R2, and S12E. Um, and, trying to make sure that, any kind of adjustment that would ever be done to the cameras through software uh, is accounting for, as wide of use cases as it seems users are
Yeah.
working with the Lumix cameras on. Um, we deployed a pretty substantial improvement for thermal performance, and this is for all three cameras.
Yeah.
Taking into account various different cases, those that were wedding and event filmmakers that are constantly going between like air conditioned interiors to warmer direct sunlight exteriors, those that are just filming it outside, or even those that are just like studio use, like how I use my cameras often.
Yeah.
And with all of that kind of feedback, with the truthfully, with the support of users, like not just lab testing, but like, hey, did you think of this kind of environment? We were able to put out this update, and I mean, in some cases, it's like a 50% to 150% improvement in
It's significant.
run times. Yeah.
I told you
Um,
that day that you got me the update. I don't shoot in such a way where I run into thermal issues often, but I do
yeah.
like to push my camera in terms of like resolution and what it can do. So when I shoot the S1R Mark II, I'm almost exclusively shooting in the 8K open gate. It's fun for
Mhm.
me. I like it. I like the future proofiness of the 8K. I think there have been a couple times where I ran into thermal issues right around 15 to 20 minutes, Salt Lake, 85, 90 degrees out here.
Yeah.
The other day I did a test, and I've done the same thing in my office, and I can usually get about 40 minutes out of it before thermally it's like, no moss, And I was using, what's funny is we talked about this, I was using the literal absolute worst card to be trying to. Like you explained it. So I was using the worst card for it. And but I was getting about 40 minutes, and then I did the update, and I got a thermal warning, I think at around 45, but it went to almost an hour and 20. So
Yeah.
do you mind? I have the thermal charts. I know you said you were that those were going to be made public, or no?
Yeah.
I
So
don't want to
there's
put you
going
in
to
a
be,
bind, but I was
yeah.
hoping to show it, or no?
Yeah, so the chart that we have that we use internally, it's formatted very different than
Okay,
what is going to be up on the public site. I think within the
then I will
next,
hold off.
yeah, I think in the next like hopefully the next 12 hours, like when the firmware
Okay,
actually
cool.
goes public and
Drops.
everyone can download it, it's gonna be listed on our customer service support site with like the new estimates, the testing
Yep.
methodology, all that stuff. But in a lot of cases, it's like, especially with the S1R2, you're going from an original estimate of, 20 minutes to 40 minutes, or 10 minutes, or no, sorry, like 15 minutes to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, and just like, you and I were saying when we were talking about this ahead of time, it's like, even in my testing, I've gotten like a lot further than some of
Mm-hmm.
those recording in our test environments. And in general, anytime you see like the charts, like you have to remember that those are usually going to be worst case scenarios. So like if you run, a thermal test 10 times,
Yeah.
and one of those tests happens to be like a 30-minute run where everything else was like an hour run, you kind of have to put the 30-minute,
Yeah.
estimation up there, because it's like, hey, there might be a scenario where that's gonna happen,
Yep.
stagnant air, stuff like that just could potentially change those numbers. But I'm stoked, once people get this and start being able to actually play around with it.
I I think it's really important to let people know that we totally understand the hilarious timing of getting rid of it or putting out a thermal update as the weather is now getting much, much colder here in the States. But when we talked, a lot of your testing wasn't done in the States. So maybe you can
Yeah,
kind of illuminate people as to so that it doesn't
yeah.
seem disingenuous.
Yeah. So, when this kind of stuff happens, like these kinds of firmware updates and these tests, they are done globally. So,
Mm-hmm.
fully understanding that, like, one, development time, it's very difficult to say, like, hey, we have to have this done by X date. You have those plans, but as you get into the process of testing and evaluating and potentially new speed bumps roll in the way as you start to change some stuff. Yeah, the irony is not lost on us that in the US we're rapidly moving into fall and winter,
Yeah.
and the temperatures are cooler. However, even with that change, I mean, I've had like 85, almost 90-degree days here in Austin where I have been able to get out, put the camera in sun, do some testing myself, under how I would shoot with it, which is the kind of frustration with thermal testing. There's the
Yeah.
subjective side of these are all the settings I want to use on the camera versus a lab test.
Yep.
But we didn't just test here; we tested in a number of other countries as well that are in the summer swings. So they're getting a lot warmer. Various different conditions of the camera being out in the sun, being kind of uh, shifting between environments, hot starts, cold starts, all those different kinds of things to kind of try to cover as many bases as possible.
Yeah.
Because again, it's like with lab tests, sure. You kind of want lab tests because those are controlled environments.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is repeatable. It's a baseline metric. But the real world is so different, and you can't always account for every kind of environment. But
Yeah.
we tried to do our best and get as much testing as we could for as many users are going to be working with it. So
Yeah. One of the things I was wondering, and I'm not sure if you can share this, but is there anything you can share with the people in the chat as to like how did we get to the thermal issues anyway, and then what was done to kind of solve most of
yeah,
those? Is that something you can share?
yeah. So basically when with the cameras, they do a couple of different things when they're evaluating various components. So headroom for how much thermal load the system can take,
Mm-hmm.
various different impacts on that. So how hot is the chassis getting, how hot are internal components getting, what is the predicted like rise in temperature based on mathematic equations of how much heat is being dumped into the system in various record modes, all that stuff. And a lot of that stuff you're doing it on with sensors that read out different components. So ambient temperature is a big one. What
Mm-hmm.
is the actual environment's temp, to kind of understand what that impact is going to have on the chassis as the chassis heats up. Because kind of pro tip for everybody, if your camera is not getting hot or warm, that's a bad sign. That means that it's not actually letting or transferring the heat to the chassis or letting the chassis soak with the heat, so that your ambient temperature can start to bring the kind of everything into equilibrium. It's same thing on computers.
It's kind of like sweat on
So
human skin.
exactly. You sweat, the wind, the breeze blows the sweat, cools it, you dry,
Yeah.
that's just how cooling works. So with cameras in general, you have based kind of estimates that are, kind of programmed into the algorithm to say, hey, here's my start temperature, here's the rough amount of headroom I should
Mm-hmm.
have. This is when I should turn the thermal warning on because by math, I'm getting close to that point.
Okay.
But then as you kind of throw in different variables, UV heat, infrared heat, dynamic changes in temperature, going from a really cool environment to a really, really hot environment,
Yeah.
those things can throw off those measurements if they're
Okay.
not like polled at a proper speed or, kind of updated in a more regular time frame. And unfortunately, there's only so much that can happen on the theoretical side or into the mathematics side of it.
Yeah.
And through testing, through work with a ton of awesome, super supportive users that, once we kind of started narrowing down saying like, hey, if you are having this, tell us how you're using the camera, because it might not be a way that it was tested, because there's not really a formal testing for general environment, because there's too many variables. You can't like actually go in and say, well, it's going to be great for all of these tests.
Yeah.
That helped us kind of go in there and say like, hey, if we make a couple of these tweaks, it helps in these environments. Maybe it pulls a little bit out of this environment, but everything ends up kind of, coming out as a net positive with these updates. And yeah, so some tweaks to the algorithms, being able to actually let the cameras get warmer, which I think is one thing you'll notice after this update. Your camera's going to feel warmer when you're doing these long record times, which is a good thing. You actually want your camera to be warmer. But to be clear for everyone, because I know like some of these time limit changes or these estimates, these are some pretty wild shifts.
Yeah.
Like I think C4K 120 on the S1 II went from an estimated 20 minutes to over 60.
Yeah.
That's a big swing.
Yeah. Huge.
Yeah. All of the thermal safeguards are still in the camera. So it still has the ability to shut off. It's not going to run away. It's not going to damage the internal components. Internal components are rated for a lot higher temperatures than in general, you're ever actually going to kind of see. But yeah, no, like this software update brings a pretty substantial improvement, and a lot of it's algorithm. So
thank you. Thanks for the clarification. I know I was like, oh wow, I didn't really think about that, but it makes a ton of sense, especially like if the algorithm wasn't anticipating. We talked mostly about like ambient shifts, like it just got the ambient shift a little wrong. But I think that's really cool. I've got some questions here, if you don't mind fielding them, because they are specifically for you. You're gonna get a lot, Sean. I will say this though, I did this cool interview with Kyle Meshnet out in the Yosemite Valley, and we had like 3 cameras up. And my third camera was the S1R Mark II. That was like our main camera. And I forgot that I'd put it in 8K. And the whole time, like in the back of my mind, I was just like wondering. And I'll tell you what, like to be able to like suppress that and then just like set up the camera and let it rip is so nice. So I for one, if the update was simply just thermal, it would still be a huge update, because it takes it from like a camera you kind of like, where do I use it? Can I use it in this situation, to like just send it? And I know that's super important for people, but here's a question from Azrael. Oh, wait a sec. I think I skipped one. Sorry, Azrael. We'll get to yours in a second. They say, first, thanks for Lumix for listening to their customers. You guys are the best at that. Seriously. For the new autofocus box, is confirmation something we could possibly get in manual for iDetect? So I think he's saying when you switch over to manual, kind of like the Nikon, can you still get the box to confirm?
Yeah, I've asked our engineers. Excuse me. I've asked our engineers about that. It's definitely one of those things that props to Nikon for deploying, like developing that and getting into their cameras. I think it's a really cool, useful tool. Yeah. I would love to see us be able to do something similar. I've like talked to the engineers about it, but I don't know if we've ever gone any kind of like further than just like, hey, this is something some people are asking. Yeah. In general, though, I think like a lot of the other smaller stuff that's in this update, or like the quality of life stuff that's in the update, I think the more users vocalize like, hey, these are things I want to see.
Yeah.
And like, hey, it's something that you can see in this product. And like, let us know in like, on our YouTube channel, in like, your videos in the comments, like all that kind of stuff, because we read them. It gives us more ammunition, like Matt Fraser and I, to go to the engineering team and say, see, this isn't something that just I want to see. This is something that a lot of users are saying, hey, these would be good improvements for us. I don't know if that means that we would ever be able to do that.
Yeah.
I don't.
You're not an engineer.
Yeah, and who knows what's involved, if that's something that's like, Nikon has a patent or a design on stuff like that. Those
Yeah.
raise questions and all that stuff, but we'll always push for it. I think it's a cool idea. I would love
Yeah.
to see it sooner rather than later.
Have you used, as good as Nikon's is, to be honest, I think Canon makes the best one. Have you used Canon's? Because Canon gives you the
No.
box, but then they actually have like a triangulation system. So as you're focusing in, you can literally see it like line up, which is really cool.
Oh.
I think they do the best job of that manual eye confirmation. So I would
That
love to,
actually
if
sounds
we
like,
could make that happen, I would love to see that.
yeah,
Yeah,
I-
that's
that that
fun.
that whole thing kind of reminds me of like back in the DSLR days. There were some cameras that had that for manual focus. Like you'd
Oh,
get the
cool.
little like matchsticks that would
Mm-hmm.
move, and then kind of like zone in on it. I actually think it was like a Pentax that did it
Interesting.
years and years and years ago,
Oh, wow.
which was pretty cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Central says no overheating at 24p is good enough to have a conversation now. So I know there are a lot of people out there. I've seen a lot of comments from people that are like, the S12 is probably like the best camera out there right now, but they weren't gonna buy it. They literally weren't gonna pull the trigger just because of the heating. So now it's kind of like, I really think Lumix is gonna get kind of like a floodgate, because as much as I love the ZR and I've been using it, the S12 and just Lumix in general, I will say your guys' menus are crazy, but I understand them a lot more than Nikon's menus. I really do. I find them much easier to just like, they logically kind of line up in my head a little bit easier. But Lumix
Yeah.
offers just way more tools. And so for me, if I were to have to like build a business, especially when it comes to video, those tools are so important that I would have to lean right now with Lumix over there. And I'm sure a lot of people, I'm not saying anything new to you. You guys know that you guys have like the best tools in the business, other than maybe like Airy.
Yeah.
But
Well,
even
you
then,
know, like
you
that's
offer
kind
some
of,
things that nobody else does. So anamorphic
yeah,
support
and
with
that's,
IBIS.
yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. I mean, you're used to shooting on reds, and
Mm-hmm.
like you mentioned, there's Ari and stuff like that, and it's like there are some. I mean, even like 5 years ago, half the tools that we have, would have in the higher end
Mm-hmm.
cinema, and we're always relegated to like, you have to buy these cameras for it.
Yeah.
It's just it's awesome that stuff is becoming more democratized, where
Yes.
yeah, I can get like a $1,200 camera, a $2,000 camera, and I've got, maybe not all of them, but I've got the vast majority that actually make a lot of sense. And for us,
I
we've always done that, but I think
yeah.
that's because of it's kind of where we come from. We're a little more of a scrappy brand.
I
So
hope your kind of mantra, that idea of not gatekeeping tools, filters to other cameras, because I get this from other brands where they're like, well, that's in our higher end cameras. I'm like, the thing that helps me get a good image, not the good image itself, shouldn't be hidden behind a paywall. Like false color or like a good focusing system, a good exposure system
yeah,
should be in every camera. That's the customer experience right there. You should want them to have the best. But I
yeah.
understand that specs should be relegated behind a paywall. But anyway, tangents.
That's
I
like all
want
this industry is now, right? It's just like, oh, cool, shiny. Let's talk about that. No, let's
yeah.
go talk about that
Yeah.
now.
I don't want to get too distracted. Azrael had a question for you. It's a two-parter. Thank you guys
Yeah.
so much for doing this. Lumix has the best firmware updates. That's not a question, but it's true. Was there anything that you learned that you didn't expect in R&D for this update?
Oh, that's a good question. So, yeah, I actually there was. So with the autofocus UI update that we did,
Mm-hmm.
where you can change the like our traditional face and eye detect, which is the box with a
Yeah.
crosshair. In the update, you can change it to where I just want a box over the eye.
Mm-hmm.
And the general thought process would be like, okay, that shouldn't be too hard, and I know, like, I'm one of the first people that's like, never say it shouldn't be too hard, because the vast
Yeah.
majority of us aren't engineers. We don't write code for these things, so we don't know.
Yeah.
But like taking a little bit of a beat and going, well, we already know the kind of positional information of like where the eye is and how it's moving, and kind of all of the base information seems to be there. So it shouldn't be that hard to just put a box over the eye.
Yeah.
Little did I know, it is actually way more involved than that. Because now it's like, with the box over the head with a crosshair, one, we've been doing that for over a decade. So like, cool, that's just, that's old hat for us. We know how to do that. We can deploy it. We can make it faster. Easy. Completely uprooting the system and saying like, hey, we now want to have a box over the eye that changes size, that also keeps relative position, that can be swapped between the eyes, and also doesn't have like the issues where like early face and eye detect, like where it was just the box over the eyes.
Yeah.
One of the biggest complaints that always came out in like reviews and people that were using it was that, well, if your subject moved really fast, the box would like lag away from the eye, even though it was actually, still on the eye.
Yeah.
The UI just wouldn't keep up. So like, after understanding, like, the engineers are like, yeah, that's actually like a much harder thing to do, because when you have the whole head like under that UI, you're not having to make as big adjustments. You're only moving a line and a crosshair, so you're really only moving a pinpoint.
Yeah.
Now I'm coding to move an entire box that variably changes size and moves and accelerates and decelerates.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were able to do it, put it in there, and we didn't lose the old versions, which was nice. So the users that like the crosshair,
options.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
That's always the big thing.
Do you want
keep
to?
Options.
There are some other questions that came in here real quick. Do you want to go through like a bullet point list so we can get back to questions? But before I get too sidetracked, do you want to go through a bullet point of like what was updated? We know thermals. You just mentioned autofocus, which gives us now just a box rather than the crosshair, or you can have the crosshair. But I have seen, you told me it wasn't very significant. And in my situations, I will say the face detect, especially the eye detect, is better. I haven't switched it over to the box yet, but I noticed it the first time I sat down and I started doing some basic like move stuff. Pulsations weren't nearly as frequent, and I could hit a more extreme kind of angle, and it just seemed like it was deadlocked on. Like every once in a while, maybe it felt like it was like hesitating. This feels a lot more confident. So we've got those two. What else?
Yeah. So, we already talked about thermal update. For the photographers, we've gotten this one a lot on the S1II and the S1R2, but there's now a slower burst shooting mode. So you don't have to have 60 frames per second or 70 frame with the S1II. You can drop that down to 30. Gives you just longer shooting time. And the S1R2 drops down to 20 frame. So these are selectable options, again, right from wildlife and event photographers. The AF tracking stability has been improved. So like always, there's always improvements with just the algorithms used for being more sticky. We've added the MP4 Lite video codec. So that's a 3.8K. 3.8K, 30 frames per second at 50 megabit. So a much lighter weight, way more mobile friendly. Yes, it is 30 frames per second. We have heard a lot of people wanting to have a 24 frame in it. I am pushing for that with the engineering team. I have no idea if that's something that's going to come to it yet, but there's that. The Lumix Flow updates, all the stuff we did on the S5 II is now part with the S1 Mark IIs. There's a faster way to jump to auto ISO, so you can now just program a button and go from whatever you're set to, just press a button and it jumps right to auto, and then press it again, it jumps back. We have 1.6x anamorphic D-squeeze as well as anamorphic stabilization. Now that there's way more of those lenses available.
Can I interject one that you
Yeah.
added that I actually really, really enjoy? Maybe can I just show it?
Mhm.
Let's fire this
Yeah.
sucker up. I got this cool mat here. It's a desk mat. Have you heard of Cinemats?
No.
It's like a desk mat, but it's basically like the EVF. So it's got like your battery percentages, standby mode. It's got like the shutter, the frames per second. It's just kind of a fun little thing. It's made by a guy named Cody LaRosa, but I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, and I needed one. Anyway,
Okay.
let's see. Where am I going? I'm not going anywhere in my menu, and I don't know if I can even see it in here. Maybe that's because I'm in photo mode. I need to be in video mode. Right? So,
Yep.
oh, this is kind of hard to see. There we go. That's a little bit better. So I think this was ingenious. We now have kind of like a visual. Do you want to? You know what I'm referring to, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So why
Yeah,
don't you
yeah.
walk us through like what these guys are seeing on here?
Yeah. So with this update, we've also changed the way the dual native ISOs are displayed
Yep.
to you as the user. So out of the box, and this works in the video mode, it doesn't work in the photo mode, but in the video mode, if you press the ISO button and you have dual native ISO set to auto, so that means that the whole ISO range is visible to you.
Yep.
Now what you'll see is for the low circuit or the low range, it's going to have an underline of blue. So
Yep.
it's going to say, hey, these ISOs are in the low range. And then it's going to be red for the high range ISOs. So making it a little bit easier from a visual standpoint to say, hey, I'm at 4000 ISO right now on an S12, but in reality, 4000 ISO on the S12 is probably the worst ISO to shoot at. You actually want to bump up to 5000 because now you change circuits and you use the high range.
Yeah.
You're going to get a much cleaner image. So we added those into this, and it adjusts the correct points based on what color profiles you're using when you're in the video or the slow and quick mode. But there's also a change if you use the rear command dial. So if I use this dial back here,
Yeah.
to adjust my ISO, now as you cycle through and use that to change your ISOs, the non-native ISOs will be yellow. And then when you hit your native ISOs, so in the S1 Mark II, it would be 640,
show it a little bit
5000.
better.
Yeah. When you hit your native ISO, they'll change to the respective colors. So it'll be like 640 will be blue. So it'll show blue for a second, and then it goes to white, so it's not distracting on the screen. And then when you hit 5000, it goes to red for a second, and then goes back to white, so that you know as I'm scrolling through, there's my natives if that's how you prefer to shoot and want to keep your ISOs. So, yeah, it's one of the it's a small update, but boy does it make being visual a little bit easier. And it's on all three of the new
I'm
ones.
definitely visual, and there are too many it's not too many, it's just with like the S1R Mark II, you've got essentially 4 different base ISOs that you have to kind of keep track of. And so having these visual like pops to let you know that you're in one is just really nice. And I really like that idea from like blue to red. It kind of gives you a visual representation of like the shooting condition you might be in. So I think this was a really smart one, and I hope other manufacturers kind of follow suit, because I think this was super, super smart of you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, guys. Somebody just called me. My bad. Sean, you got time for a question?
Yes, I do.
A lot of users such as Matthew, I can't even pronounce Matthew's last name.
Thought about Danu.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Danu. It literally is as it looks, Brandon. That was that easy. Danu. Let's see, it disappeared. thought about that trigger for the camera is the direct sun. Do you think the tweaks has also helped for just shooting 50 frames per second for more than 10 minutes?
Yeah. I've done various different tests. In what was it? I think it was like 80 to like 82 degrees Fahrenheit
Mm-hmm.
here in the US. In direct sunlight. Now, the one thing that I will caveat with my test is that this is, a fall sun.
Yep.
So, it's a little bit lower in the sky. It's not as intense. It was the middle of the day. It was like 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So, it's about as strong or as high of a UV index as I can get.
Mm-hmm.
And I was recording and like over an hour. One of my tests that I ran, I actually like had to stop it because I lost direct sun because the sun moved behind the building. So that I think brings the good point that under that environment, again, a fall sun, which is not as strong as like a middle of the summer.
Yeah.
I am in Texas where we've got higher humidity, at least here in Austin, and it was a hot day. I would say 80 to 90 is arguably a hot day.
Yeah.
And a totally unbroken clip. So just click record and let it run. Getting an hour of recording, like over an hour of recording, was perfectly fine.
That's awesome.
From my tests. Am I ever going to do that? No. If I'm going to set my camera up for an hour and a half long record and it's going to end up being in direct sunlight, I'm probably covering my camera because I've tried doing that before and I kicked it before the camera did. So,
Yeah. Good work.
Yeah.
Doing the Lord's work.
So,
we got some super chats in here. One from the notorious early bird on the NDAs, Cam Mackey. Cam says the updates have been amazing. I don't have to print out an ISO list anymore. Hugely beneficial. And LUT support on the app finally makes the app useful.
Yes.
So
yeah,
thanks,
that was
Cam.
that update, for anyone that's been waiting to use Lumix Flow because you shoot and log, yes, you do have LUT view support in it. The LUTs are controlled by the camera, so set the LUT you want to use as your preview on the camera side, and then when you toggle it in the app, you get your LUT preview. Yeah.
That is one hell of an app, by the way. Romeo, thanks for the $5 super chat. As a zoomer who never used a Pentax DSLR camera. God damn it was so long. It's funny how I associate that hydrometer looking manual focus assist with the Fuji X Pro series.
Yeah.
A zoomer.
God, we're old, man.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm old, at least I feel old. So.
I'm pretty sure I'm older than you, Sean.
Possibly.
I'm pretty sure. And this was Art Vision Movement. Are you guys referring to that green flickering box Nikon has that indicates it's in focus? Yes. So like when you go into manual focus, if it sees an eye and you have eye subject or subject detection on while in manual focus, it will give you a box around your eye. And then as you move focus, it will confirm with green. It's just, like I said, Canon's version is way better because you can actually this is what I have to do to hit focus. Nerdy Camera says, I've never shot on a Lumix camera before, but this might be the best explanation of camera thermal dynamics I've ever heard. Good stuff. This is why I bring Sean on.
I'm able to explain that because I slept at a Holiday Inn last night. See how many people get that reference.
I didn't. Over my head, man. Let's see.
Oh, man.
Yes, I think you are correct about the Pentax being the first on that focus system. So nice work. Dude, holy shit, we got Bench Hash in the chat. I don't know if he's still here.
Hey.
But Bench, thanks for dropping in, man. Hands down, S12 the GOAT. Lumix is always family. Everyone else extended family. Every time we touch any camera, we always have to compare it to Lumix. Looks like you got some big fans in here, man. Let's see. Here we go. Here we got another question. For these types of needed structural updates, especially as it relates to overheating, does Lumix have a sort of elite team that specifically works on these types of updates? Who are your teams guys? You got dev group
um,
for engineers.
yeah. I mean, one of the things that I I can't say if it's unique to us. I would doubt that it's unique to us, but typically you've got specialist engineers. You've got
Oh,
people
okay.
that their sole job is autofocus. You have guys that their whole job is thermal management and thermal engineering.
Okay.
So anytime these kinds of issues come up, or you want to make strong headway in a very specific component in a product, those teams are usually empowered more to be like, hey, we're gonna hold tight on a couple of other things that maybe they're a little bit lower priority, they're not critical, or they're not ultra necessary. Let's divert and make sure that this team has as much resources as it needs to fully vet out and test and execute an update. um but what's cool is that, like, you know I get to talk directly to a lot of those teams.
Okay.
So when people like yourself, or anyone in the chat, when y'all tell us stuff and you comment and say, hey, this feels broken, or I would love to see if you could do this, we actually get to go sit and have open conversations with these teams and just be like, hey, let's try to like
Dude, that's
see
cool.
if we can get this working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Preston, will the autofocus UI feature come to the S52 or S9?
uh that I'm not sure about.
Okay.
The S52s are pretty long in the kind of like cycle, like their life cycle within the
Mm-hmm.
cameras, and you do come to a point where not necessarily stuff can't be added to it. It's more how much, with everything that we're working on. So
Yeah.
the current products that are out, the newest, top of the line, that's just how product and consumerism works. They get the most attention. Stuff that's relatively easy and shares a lot of common code is more uh it's more straightforward to bring back to
Yeah, that
the
makes sense.
previous quote generation. But usually what you find is that if things are going to take a lot of resources to try to make them fit, they usually don't get chosen, because when you look at a list of priorities, like bringing this UI change to an S52 versus the next greatest thing that we want to work on that has way more people asking about it,
Yeah.
unfortunately, resources are resources. You end up saying, well, way more people are asking for this, so this is what we're going to
Supply
prioritize.
and
If
demand.
we ever get to this, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I remember with
no
the
promises,
OG
but
Komodo. Well, we appreciate that. I remember with the OG Komodo, there was just like early on, they never really intended that camera to become what it became. And it
Mhm.
was always like, Jared was like, guys, we stuffed as much as we possibly can into this camera. Like, it literally can't take anything else. And the only reason
Yeah.
it got an additional update is because Nikon bought them and they had like retooled the software in such a way that they could.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And
all
honestly,
right.
at some point, companies do also, because let's not kid ourselves here, companies have to make money.
Yeah.
At some point, it's not financially responsible to go too far back, because you
Mm-hmm.
end up having to spend so much money. It may not run well on the older cameras because processors do change.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just kind of the reality of stuff. So,
Got some good comments here. Analog Monoxide, which is just a fantastic name. My cat
oh
will
yeah,
help me stress test the iBox later. Yeah. Good luck with that one. We've got, I specifically love the crosshair focus, and the drop in frames per second is something I have been waiting for. MP4 Lite for my S1R Mark II is clutch. If you're shooting
yeah.
content, that MP4 Lite is really nice. John Stera also says, I love MP4 Lite on the S5 too. Congrats on having it on more cameras in this update.
Yeah.
Let's see. Cam. Oh, Jesus.
What did Cam say now?
Where's the ZR? Who is this guy? Grandpa, right? Cam, Grandpa Talbot. Let's see. Dang, that S12 series is a beautiful camera, and that's just because it's my first camera. Well, you always love your first camera. First camera's always like I had the Canon M50 white. I thought white was cool, and then I went to I started shooting jujitsu, and I went to the. This is hilarious. I'd only been shooting for like 3 months, and somehow I was able to basically lie my way into being a photographer for a major jiu-jitsu brand at World Championships. And I showed up with a white Canon M50 and one lens, which was the Sigma 85 Art, the 1.4. So I shot the entire event on one single lens. But everybody looked at me like, what the hell is this guy doing? This tiny white camera. Everybody's got huge, big black cameras with 70 to 200s. And I went, am I doing this wrong? That was fun. Let's see.
Oh,
Here's another question for you. What is a good tip for knowing which base ISO is good in what scenario?
Ooh. Man. That's kind of like that's a loaded, like a really loaded answer, I think, to have to give on that one. So there's like the technical logic, like, hey, I'm shooting in low light. You're going to shoot at a higher ISO, and you're going to want to keep as close to whatever the native is in that circuit, because you're going to get better dynamic range. You're going to get cleaner looking images. But with dual native ISO circuitry and stuff like that, those rules kind of start to go out the window a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then, like, on the flip side of it, maybe it's because I come from a photography background, but like, I'll go out broad daylight and I'll shoot at like 4,000, 5,000 ISO without a problem. Depending on like what, I'm doing. If I have an ND filter on it, because I'm jumping back and forth, and like the reality is like, I don't let myself be consumed by that set of information too much, because you then start to just focus on the tech. You're not focusing on the storytelling with it. So lower light, and I don't mean no light scenarios. I'm going to say something controversial. Learn to light. Even if it's practical lighting, stuff like that, a little bit helps.
Yep.
High native ISO once the sun goes down, and then if you can add lighting, even if it's practical lighting, just what's in a room, add a little bit of that.
Yep.
Hell, if it's your cell phone light, add a little bit of light. It makes a massive difference.
Yep.
But I don't know if this is how you feel, but it's like, I always like to push, like, don't consume yourself too much that you have to be at native ISOs and it has to be the cleanest, most clinical looking thing in the world. Because the fact is, you're going to be grading it. You're going to be adding a look or a style to it. You're probably going to be adding noise to it in a lot of cases. Like, if you make YouTube videos, you're going to post on YouTube, you actually probably should add a little bit of grain to it. That hides YouTube's banding and like the transmission issues and quality issues that happen just in encoding. Yeah. So a little bit of noise in the base is fine.
Yeah, I'm very much like you, and the more I do this, the more I see how good cameras are and how close they are, and it really starts to become an experience thing. And I think the ZR is much kind of controversy around its dynamic range, with the Cine D tests. More than any camera I've seen in the past, I've seen people get hung up on things that don't matter so much. And I'm not saying a base ISO doesn't matter, but it shouldn't be this so hard and fast rule. And I've said, like with the ZR, just shoot at 800 and 640 or 6,400. However, there are times where you can tinker with that. And like, But just like you said, like, don't get so caught up in this, like the numbers of what the manufacturer says this is where you get the best results, that you avoid going to anything else and getting the shot that you want to get. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a huge
Yeah,
proponent for just like dicking around with your camera for a couple weeks and like literally figuring out how it plays out.
Yeah, totally. There's benefits to knowing the information, and more importantly, understanding what it means for your style of shooting. Like, I think one of the big things, if we talk about like the dynamic range numbers, like when we
Yep.
come out and we say, hey, you've got this many stops of dynamic range, cool. A lot of people tend to stop reading at that point, like on CineD's articles. I see a lot of people will stop reading there and be like, bigger number, better.
Yeah.
In some ways, yes. If that's what you need, yeah, 100%. Bigger number does technically mean better. But what it doesn't tell you is like, hey, what's the latitude of this? If I have to pull my highlights back, how do those look when I pull them back? How do my shadows come up? If I'm in that situation where I have to shoot really low light and maybe I don't have enough lighting for it, what's going to happen in my shadows if I have to lift them up? Sometimes you find that, like, yeah, if I shoot a little bit higher in the ISO, I can get a little bit cleaner shadow, and I know I have enough highlight that I can pull them back in a little bit, and my image is cleaner. And I didn't have to shoot at a native ISO for that.
Yeah.
So it's understanding what those numbers are, but understanding that like they should be broken in a lot of cases. Like you should move off of them in many cases, unless you're on a film set where you're paying a ton of money for someone to light your scene.
Yeah. Dick around with your camera, figure out where it breaks, where it holds up.
Yeah.
Photographer says these UI updates really make the cameras feel fresh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing what a UI will do.
Let's see. I saw another question. Where did it go? Or maybe I didn't. Oh no, it's just a back and forth with the @ symbol. My bad. Trevor, what's up, buddy? Great work, Lumix. Happy for all the Lumix game peeps. Nikon USA. Hope you guys are watching. Release the tools. Right on.
Oh, man.
I definitely want the release of the tools. Hey, what's up, my buddy Kenny? What's up, Kenny? When reviewers say maybe they'll fix it in a firmware update, the only brand I trust to deliver on that is Lumix. Bobby Tonelli. What's up, buddy? Stoked to have you in here. Bobby says, hey, Sean,
Hey.
Awesome update. Wanted to ask for MP4 Lite. Noticed PAL users don't get 3.8K open gate, but NTSC users do. Let me finish it. Just disappeared. Wanted to ask why that is.
So I actually just checked that on my camera. In PAL, I have a 25 frames per second MP4 Lite when I switch it to PAL. One thing that I will say, and this isn't necessarily like hard documented on the websites or anything like that, but anytime you get a firmware update that's going to have like a lot of stuff change, like especially if it's like big changes, like we're adding a new recording mode and you've got new UIs and all that stuff, I highly recommend, and this is true for all cameras, I highly recommend save your camera settings out if you have that option, do a full factory reset on the camera, and then load settings back on. If anyone's used to like the computer side of the industry, like PC building and all that stuff, you know that like as updates kind of layer on top of each other because they're kind of they're using whatever code exists and then you're implementing new pieces on top of it. At some point you may start to introduce some oddities in the way things work, and just doing a factory reset, loading your settings back on, just kind of clears all of that stuff up. And like I know I had one person that said when they updated, because they've never reset their camera after updates, when they added MP4 Lite to the camera, it was saying that it was full HD, which is like, well, that's definitely not right. Did a reset on the camera and it was like, oh yeah, no, everything's fine now.
I do that once a year with my Mac, with like
Yeah.
And it just tends to make the computer feel fresh and new.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good set of maintenance to do to your equipment. Like years ago, when I was shooting weddings and events, I would send my camera equipment in, get it serviced by the company,
Yeah.
because at that point now I know everything's kind of like cleaned
Yeah.
up, ready to go, run through its tests, and now I'm good to go back to work.
Got a super chat. Photographer, thank you very much. Will these updates be the new standard for future releases?
Likely, yeah. Yeah, usually when you see stuff like this, um, like the UI changes or like certain feature ads,
Yeah.
they usually do become the standard. You always get into the weird cycle though, where if a new product comes out, and it all depends on when it was being developed as to whether or not, like, you get a little bit of staggering, but they'll
Yeah.
always be, for the most part, I can't say always, you'll typically get firmware updates that cascade and keep everything pretty close in alignment across the board until you hit that point where it's like, well, we can't really keep doing it to the older products. So
Cam says Sean's job at Lumix is to be the life of the party, and I can attest that.
don't
This
you
is
know it,
often
man?
the case. This is often the case. New York was so much fun. I had a blast.
Oh yeah, yeah.
New York was an absolute good time. David Manning rollerblading in at like 1 a.m. all sweaty. We're like, what are you doing? That was probably one of my highlights for sure.
Oh man.
Let's see. Here's a tough one, Sean. We have been asking for the S1H Mark II for years and nothing. Where is it, Sean?
Ah, Central. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
we've said this before.
Yeah.
We are actively working on a follow up. Just
So it's not
still in this
vaporware.
process of, no, God no. A lot of it's just like that whole kind of thing of like, what is it going to have? What designs are they going to go with? What kind of hardware? And honestly, just nothing to talk about at this point.
Yeah.
But it is something that we are, and have said a couple of times, we are actively planning and going through those steps.
We
So,
are all very excited for it when it happens.
yeah,
Chris
believe me,
Brockhurst.
so am I. I don't want the questions anymore.
I know. I'm sure you're sick of it. You're like, God damn it! Can we just get this camera out of here so I don't have to deal with this anymore? What's up, buddy?
Man.
Chris Brockhurst says the iBox change, big win! Many exclamation points. This is dope. The new firmware update is a gold trophy. It really is. Like I said, I haven't. Oh my God! Look who's in the chat. David Manning.
Hey.
Sean is the man. I still owe him a drink from New York City.
Oh man.
I've never fully gone back to Lumix since the GH4 and GH5 days, but they are getting really close to getting me back. I gotta wonder, like, what else does it take at this point? You guys have thrown the kitchen sink at quite literally every one of your cameras. I don't know what else. I don't know what else that guy needs. Maybe a foot rub. I don't know.
Nah, I in this industry right now, I think it's seeing even more now that people aren't just one system owners anymore. So like, hey, maybe grab like an S12 or an S12E to like dip your toe back in, and maybe you'll find that there's stuff that we do that helps. Doesn't have to be a primary camera.
Yeah, I love my S1R Mark II, and I couldn't exchange it for the S12 because of the photography features that I really enjoy. And my God, there is something special with that sensor. The other day we had an epic sunrise, and I have a lot of cameras in here now. And I ran downstairs and I didn't grab my M11P. I didn't grab my my SL2S. I grabbed the S1R Mark II. If I need autofocus, that's the camera I'm giving. There's something like with the color and the texture that comes out of that camera that is hard to define. Like, Well, I shoot on red, and I think like my Monstro and the KX, they have kind of it's an intangible quality. There's something to like
Yeah.
the blacks and the texture. There is something to that S1R2 sensor that I'm just like, oh, it's so good. But I will say, seeing some of like Cam's footage, I'm always like, man, it would be fun to try an S1 II at some point. Oh, here's a good one, Sean. Bobby says Sean's tip for the reset worked. Many thanks on that. This is why we have him on, people. He just gives and gives and gives. Azrael, always love it when you jump on live stream, Sean. Off to go shoot a project with my S1R Mark II. Excited to put the new firmware on my camera tomorrow.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Best accent in the business, Thomas J. McClure. I've been comparing my ZR to my Lumix S9, and I'm not going to lie, that S9 performs so high above its price point. It's wildly cheap now. That's the camera I want to get for my wife. She's starting a YouTube channel, and I want to get her an S9 because I think it's just small, fun, and easy, and it looks incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Super fun little camera.
Yeah. Cam, thank you, buddy. Everyone, hit that like button. We have 39 people in here, 22 likes. That's a little low. I think we can do better. Dude, what other... Seriously, since Jared, I have yet to see a camera manufacturer representative be this, like, in it with the people. If I can't get...
Well, I love my job, man.
I know. But I don't see, like, Canon representatives coming on. They'll do, like, every once in a while. It'll be a guy and he avoids half the questions. Can we get some more likes for Sean? Not for me, just for Sean. Because, like, just his time. Let's be honest. Let's see.
Man.
Even if the S5 II series doesn't get any more updates, I still got one this summer because it's basically fully matured. It's such a good camera.
Yeah. No, and there it's again, it's just crazy like how good the cameras are these days. And like we're honestly to the point now where it's like, how do we just refine them? How do we get them that little bit extra? Start working on a little bit more of the fringe cases, like,
Yeah.
you know.
I really think it comes down to experience with so much of this. It really is like at like certain price points, obviously when you have a huge price point jump, then you get like a different kind of experience and a different kind of quality. Yeah. But I think when you're at that like $1,400 to like even $4,000, all of it is so close that it really comes down to like, what is the best experience I can possibly get? And that really becomes use case, you know?
Yeah.
It really becomes kind of use case. So I implore you guys to keep working on what I loved that you just said that I think is so important is you said the fringe use cases. And I love the fact that you guys want to like tinker with those fringe use cases because that's when you really start to like experiment and pick up people that you wouldn't normally pick up. And and I think that gets the mind kind of like percolating into like figuring out what other fringe things. And it's just cool because then you end up with something as basic as like a 4-inch screen instead of a 3-inch screen, but people lose their minds over it, you know? And if you can create some weird fringe case where it makes my life better, then it's like, I want this and I want it in every single camera.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, there's, again, just all of those little kind of tools and components where, you know, like we obviously with like OpenGate being a lot of the conversation that, you know, you go in the comment section and it's like a 50-50 split, just like we had with like the rear LCDs, right? Do I want a flip screen or do I want a tilt screen? It's the same thing with the OpenGate side, but like, I think it's safe to say like almost every platform that's like, hey, I have a job that has come up and the client is asking more and more to do both of them. It's like, sure, are you going to need that feature across the board? Maybe not.
Yeah.
But when you have a camera that can do it and you've got a client that's asking for it,
Yeah.
boy, does it make your job easier, which means you can then just move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the screens. Does that screen give you a better experience for the times you want to use the camera? Does the viewfinder, it's why we still have viewfinders, like all that stuff. Like how do we improve those little cases in each of these products? Because image quality is always going to improve and it's going to get better and better and better, but those gains are not going to be felt in necessarily a day-to-day experience.
Yeah.
Things like color science will.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's the like, what's the tactile feel of the camera? How
Like you
does
said,
it work?
Quality of life. Yeah. This is my own personal musings here. We were talking about OpenGate and how useful it can be. Is there any way that Lumix would ever push the limit and just deliver a 1x1 sensor, like a fully square sensor, not a 1x1, but a fully square, to like really take advantage of that?
Yeah. So is it technically possible? Sure. To do like an actual square sensor. The problem with it is, for those that aren't aware of like wafer manufacturing, so the sensors or processors, like whatever it is, they're built on wafers that are usually circular. Actually, they're all circular. Yeah.
Yep.
And the problem is that there's a lot of math that goes into how many of these, in this case, sensors, can you fit on a wafer? How much waste is there?
Yep.
And
because
when
they
you start
fail,
going to things
just
like,
FYI, people, they fail. There's a failure rate.
Oh yeah. Especially like
so
when you're going
expensive.
into newer tech. Yeah. And you really run into a lot of those things where it's like, well, one, is there even tooling that can lay out the pixel array, lay out all the communication points, all of the micro traces and all that stuff? Does it even exist to map it out as a square? Who's going to actually foot the bill to develop it, and then bring it to scale?
Yeah.
And then on top of it, what's the waste on a wafer? How many are you going to get per, wafer? How many sensors do you get? How many of them are going to be good quality? What size square do you go with? Lenses are designed, as a circle. So the logic there being that, well, a square is going to take up, more of the circle.
Yeah.
But the difference between 4x3 and 3x2, yeah, there's a little bit of a difference there. But just the economies of scale just don't exist. And with, I think, the way the industry has just historically grown, it would take a big shift for companies to put like a square sensor. Yeah. There would have to be, in all reality, you would have to most likely see a non-camera industry that has to use a sensor, like an imaging sensor, make that transition and be like, we have a special application that we need this, because then the tooling is built, the concept is designed, and it changes everything. Cameras would have to get taller at that point, because you still have to account for stabilization. You have to account for lens opening, room for the electronics and the interconnects and all that stuff. It's a cool idea in theory, but anyone that knows anything about, high volume manufacturing, it's not something that makes any sense. Yeah.
When I was doing my research for do you remember the H6D 100C from Hasselblad?
Yeah.
It had a massive sensor. So it was like a 645 digital sensor. And the reason they got rid of
actual
that
medium format camera.
That sensor was so big, and apparently, like, the bigger you go on a sensor, the higher the failure rate. And the bigger you go, the less amount of sensors you can actually put on a wafer. So you're kind of like, you're doubling up on the bad juju, like right from the start. And basically their failure rate was so high that it was like, this is not, we can't actually continue to manufacture these. So it was a very short-lived product, but pretty cool shit.
It's the same in TVs as well. Larger OLED TVs have a much higher failure rate.
Yeah.
because of the screen printing, to like all that stuff. Everything gets more expensive and way harder to do the bigger you go.
Yeah, and that's why it costs $32,000 on that camera.
Yeah.
It was a super expensive camera. Roger Singh, what's up, Roger? You guys are making me want to jump camera brands. Roger, anytime you want to borrow mine, let me know. I don't tell people, I'm not a tribalist as much as I love Lumix cameras. I don't tell people that I only use Lumix or to only shoot Lumix. There are people out there, by all means, you could, for sure. I just like cameras way too much to be just a one brand guy. But anytime you want to borrow one, Roger, please come up and grab it. Roger lives like 20 minutes away from me, so.
Oh, nice.
This guy, however, though, Kofi, Lumix gang in the chat, he lives a little further away than 20 minutes. I wish he didn't, though. He's fun to hang out with. Preston Irvina, I don't even know who the other brand reps are. There you go. Oh, we got some super chats. Let's have I covered all the super chats? I think so, other than Roger. What's up? $10. Dude, thank you. So lunch for Sean. Small lunch, but still. That's super nice of you. Thanks, Roger. I will send that over to you on a Venmo. Let's see, Kofi. Canadian dollars, $27.99. So what is that, like $3 American, I think, right now?
Yeah, probably something like that.
It's cheap. Kofi, you cheap bastard. Lumix really Lumix really said, everyone shut up with this update. Testing the thermals in Africa. BRB. Congrats, guys. Kofi's gonna push the shit out of it in Ghana, man.
Oh yeah.
He's gonna push the crap out of that camera. Let's see. Trevor, hit the like button, and also a follow-up. Don't be trash cans. No trash cans. I don't know if you ever watch Brandon Washington's live stream, how Jarrell always calls people that don't hit the like button trash cans.
Oh man, smash that like button, y'all.
Yeah. We have to respect Sean for doing a weekly live stream and answering our questions. No other camera brand does that. It's true, dude. I know you do it because you love it, but for us that get to like watch this and we have so many questions, you really are kind of like the only guy, like I said, since Jared. That was one of the reasons I fell in love with Red. It was like, dude, you get the man is like weekly, and Jared was like notorious for like leaking shit, and he was just like, he was a I don't give a hell kind of guy. But you don't see it from anybody else, and you come on here, and it's such a unique experience to like look at a company and have somebody not just represent the company but peel back the curtains and be very forthcoming with like what the real issues are. Like I hit you with an S1H Mark II, and you're like, it's not for vaporware, we're working on it, whereas some people would be like, what's the real political answer? I talked to you about like a 1x1 sensor because a lot of us out there would love to see it, and you're like, it's a great idea, but here are the things that you don't understand and why you probably won't get it from a camera manufacturer anytime soon. Yeah.
I mean, I've always grown up through the logic of like, just say what you mean and mean what you say. So, fortunately, the company lets me, gives me a pretty good leash to be like, hey, just don't be an idiot.
Yeah, and they do give you a lot of room, which is really cool. I think that speaks volumes not just to you but also to Lumix, because they're like, Sean, we know what you're doing, we trust you, have at it. I love that.
Don't screw it up.
Have you ever screwed it up? Have you ever been like, what have you had a moment that you can think of where you're like, shit, this is not going to be fun tomorrow, there's going to be a Zoom that I'm going to have to be in?
Not in a live stream.
Okay.
There hasn't been anything where I've been like, shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, there has been stuff where like, I've had to, not because of me, but
It was
because of
Cam,
just
wasn't it? It was
situation.
Cam.
um, no, but had to sit in meetings and be like, okay, how are we going to respond to this? What are we going
Yeah.
to say? How do we handle this publically? That
Yeah.
kind of thing. Especially when it's nothing that we do wrong. Having to kind of address stuff like that. But
Yeah.
again, that's kind of the cool thing. The company was like, hey, this is kind of like what we can say, so go ahead.
Yeah.
Try to read the statement, but
Yeah.
the statement
That's
is
good.
always like, well, I'm going to read it how I want to read it,
Yeah.
but I have a statement, so.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Well, we won't dwell on that too much. I don't want to sit here and pick apart the times where you're like, I'm a failure. That's not fun.
Past is the past.
Yeah. Here's a question for you to move on. Details on the tracking AF improvements in the S1 II. Is it stickier on faster moving subjects? I shoot a lot of slow motion, small birds, and insects in flight.
So, out of the box, yes, there's going to be kind of improvements for various different scenarios. However, what you're describing, shooting slow motion with birds and insects in flight, one, that those subjects are going to be kind of faster in general, and they're going to be more erratic. So, like most of the cameras in the market, there's usually like tweaking and fine tuning you can do to the AF systems. With us, it's sensitivity and speed. So this kind of goes back to like knowing your gear, is that what is gonna work for your particular scenario, shooting fast, small objects that are erratic, means that you're realistically a fringe case for compared to a general user.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to go in and say, well, I need the system to be faster. I need it to be stickier. So that's where you'd go into the AF custom settings and say, hey, I want to turn my speed up and I want to turn the sensitivity up to kind of correlate to what you're trying to shoot.
Yeah.
You'll get baseline improvements, but not necessarily for what you're shooting. I would still go in and up your sensitivity and speed for it.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, hey. It is my friend Jaime. Did I miss the announcement? He's from Spain, so you have to say it. Jaime. Did you meet him in New York, Sean?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. That
freaking...
the one night when we were all waterlogged walking through Times Square, I think.
That would be it, yeah. Jaime asks, did I miss the announcement? Well, the announcement is that we have Sean to talk about the announcement, which was a huge firmware update for the new generation of Lumix cameras, the S1 IIe, the S1 II, and the S1R Mark II, mostly in regards to thermals. Thermals basically were the limiting factor for this camera for a lot of people, and you guys have, I don't want to say eradicate, but radically improved them in many cases.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that a fair fair statement, or did I embellish it too much?
No. That's definitely a fair statement. I mean, like let's be kind of real here. The S1R2 is never going to be an unlimited video first, stick it on sticks in the middle of the day and just be able to record nonstop with it, because that's not what we built it for. But these improvements, do make sizable changes to its performance, to where I'd say after this update, it's much more of that reliable 50-50, photo video tool, where you're not going to have nearly as much, potential anxiety if you are using it in the video sense.
Yeah. There, because I have access to that chart you showed me, and I know you're going to make that available for the public pretty soon. Not the exact one that I have, but like a public version.
Just cleaned up so it looks better.
Yeah. Are there certain codecs that were thermal throttling way harder than others? Not codecs, but I guess codec and frame
Yeah,
rates.
codecs.
Is like 4K
Yeah, yeah.
60 like rougher than 4K 20, or is they? I was kind of shocked that the 8K open gate didn't thermally throttle as much as something
Yeah.
else that was lower resolution.
Yeah. Typically, like whenever you're working with any camera, and I think and the easiest way to kind of put this, I think, into most people's reference point is, and I'm not going to say the camera brands, but there is a camera out there that gives you two options of, say, a 4K 60 mode or a 4K 30 mode. One would be a potentially
Are you
binned
talking
and
about
skipped
Canon?
option. Maybe there's a binned and skipped option, and then there's an oversampled option.
Yeah.
And what you would see in some cases was that the oversampled option generates a lot more heat and would cause potential thermal issues, where the binned and skipped option wasn't. So you had to take a trade-off to get reduced image quality to be more thermally reliant. But if you wanted the higher quality, you'd have to deal with a potential for thermal.
Yeah, that makes
Now,
sense.
that logic, if you take that to all recording across the board, we record in open gate, which has no downsampling. It's pretty much pixel to pixel across the board, minus maybe a couple pixels just to keep aspect correct.
Okay.
When you record like that, you're not having to add the downsampling layer on top of just the record and put it to a card. Run it through the image processor to apply a color profile or whatever, compress it, and then put it onto a card. When you would run things like 4K 60, which is a downsampled option, especially in the S1R2, coming from 8K, it has to now do 8K as the main record, then it has to process the downsample, then it has to encode that and send it to the card. That adds, thermal impacts to it, both more so on the processor than necessarily the sensor. So yeah, like certain modes, which is one of the reasons why it takes a while to kind of narrow a lot of this stuff down, is the more codecs you offer, the more variants of things you offer, the more testing you have to do. So it really kind of eventually hits a point where it's like,
guys, Sean just froze. I think he bumped something a little too hard. So when Sean comes back, maybe I should text him and see if he's okay. Let's see. And what a face to freeze on, right? I'm gonna screenshot that and send it to him. In the message he goes. Oh, there he is. He's joining. So, something. Wait a sec. Let's get rid of this one. There you go. What happened, buddy?
Laptop died.
Oh man. Well, welcome back.
Yeah, that might actually point out that I probably need to
you need a
charge that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I appreciate it. I know that it is 9:30, so that was the hour and a half that I quoted you. I know you've got a big day ahead of you because of this announcement. So I'm going to keep going through the chat if you want to tap in every once in a while and answer questions or whatnot, but I'll let you go so you don't have to be visually present. But everybody, please, huge round of applause for Sean. And thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Yeah, of course, man. You
obviously answered questions that I couldn't, so.
Super happy to do it. I just probably should have charged my MacBook before jumping into this. I'm like, it says it's 9%. Let me get my, it turned off. Great, cool.
Did you see the text I just sent you? I immediately screen grabbed your face on the freeze. So, well, thanks again, Sean. We appreciate it. Good luck today, and to all Lumix users, nice work.
Yeah, thanks, y'all. Thanks for having me. I will. I'll be floating around in the chat while I got my other stuff going on. So
sounds good. All right, we'll see you, Sean.
Later, y'all.
Peace. Bye. Well, guys, how great was that? I'm gonna stick around. I'm not going anywhere. Kofi says it was $20. I'm sorry, Kofi. I did not mean to insult you. Thank you for the $20. I'm gonna send that to Sean so he can have a fantastic lunch. Between you and Roger, he's gonna have the best lunch. I think Lumix would ever make a photography centered small camera competing with Fuji and Leica. Thomas, I'm so sorry I didn't get to that one earlier, but maybe Sean is still in here and he'll answer you because that would be dope. Have they made a camera like that? I know they made a really tiny, but I can't remember if it was a point and shoot. Roger says, Kofi, I was wondering about that $27.99. Let's see. Just don't drink with Sean. Well, I don't drink, so I mean, I was with Sean when drinking was happening. He seemed to be having a great time. Touch to track improvements. I've seen a very small improvement. When you go through the update, and Sean would probably tell you if he's still in here, the autofocus improvements are not like the highlight of this improvement. There are improvements to the autofocus. They weren't very vocal about it. They didn't want to unless it was a significant improvement. This is like the call we had before the update came out. Unless there was a major improvement to the UI or something very noticeable, if it wasn't significant, they weren't going to put it in writing. Now, I've seen an improvement, especially to face eye auto detect, and I've seen a little bit of an improvement to touch track autofocus, but I specifically asked him about this, and this is just not something that they have. That was weird. Something just fell from the ceiling. This is not something that they have addressed yet. So it's not a Sony, it's not an Icon, it's not a Canon where you can just tap on something and move the camera in it and it stays on there. Just FYI. I love hearing that when a company listens to their customers' problems to improve their products. Yeah, for so many of us that get to work with Lumix and use Lumix, especially the get to know side, Sean isn't a performative piece on the internet. And then when you meet him in person, it's different. He's the same person all the time, which is really cool. And it's really rare when you get a company that's going to give you a representative of that company. And they're so cavalier is not the right word, but they're so casual, laid back, and they really do kind of open the curtain to the behind the scenes. Cam, the S1R2 firmware puts a red dot on the camera. Just got word we're buying an S1R and an S12E at work. Sweet. That update did some awesome things for you guys. He does look so sad. Let's see. He tapped out. Put me. He's tapped out. Put me in, coach. S12 overheated on Sean. No, it just really doesn't overheat anymore. Watching this while holding my ZR. I love the ZR. It's just a very different camera. Let's see. Sean overheated. I know this is going to be a big one. Everybody's going to say he overheated. Just lots of thanks to Sean. He's such a good dude. Thank you, Sean, for helping Grandpa Talbot. Jesus Christ, Cam. Let's see. Any whiff on getting bigger capacity batteries for the S12 series? Man, I don't know. That's a good one for Sean. I can pass it along. This has been thermals were an issue, and I've talked to Sean about this. My only other issue with the S1R Mark II, which is not what you're talking about, but the S1R Mark II is battery life. Holy crap, it goes through batteries so fast. Core sent me this thing that I've been using it, and it's pretty good, but it does have some issues. And that is this. This is that Mighty, the Snap Mighty. And so I've been using it when the cage is on there. I just put it on the bottom, and it does help a lot because it's a 45 watt power supply. The magnets are very magnety. But in all honesty, camera manufacturers just need to freaking make a battery grip that is one huge battery. I don't understand this idea of, one, I have to remove my battery so that you stick a non-battery in there and you literally just add one more. Like, one more isn't going to do shit for me, especially if I'm paying $400 for it. Just give me a giant freaking battery pack inside of this thing. At some point, somebody needs to make it. Sean, that's the fringe case. Give us one of those. Me and my buddy want to hit a photo video conference on 2025. Any recommendations out there? Any that you're planning on attending? They can be super fun. And I think most of us go to NAB, that's in Vegas. That's the big one. We have a lot of fun with it. Build came back this year, and that was a blast. That's in New York. There's some others. If you're in Canada, Toronto has one that's really, it's kind of like their NAB. Nashville, I think it's Nashville, has a really big one every year. I can't remember the name of it, but it just happened. But NAB is kind of like the big one. That's where you're going to like meet a lot of people too. You can kind of get through the entire event in a day, and it's 3 days. And so you spend the next 2 days like shooting and having fun with your people. That's how I think of it. Some YouTubers go out and they like work brands hard and like build up those relationships, which is great business wise. I would much rather be out shooting with my friends. So I'll try to make a video if I can, but really I just get so distracted and I just want to get the hangs in, as my buddy Tyler would say. That's kind of how I approach it. But I hope to see you there, man. Thanks for answering the touch to track question. Massive update overall. Yeah, no problem. That's what we're here for. Facial tracking at higher frames per second with external monitor. Is this ever a possibility? Let me save this and I'll send it to Sean and try to get an answer for you, because that one is above my pay grade. I had to be serious and professional for Sean, LOL. But when you said you brought in your M50 around all these big black cameras in my head, did you just... No, guy, no. I mean, yes, but no. I know where you're going with that, but no. Let's see, 2026 for the photo video conference. I didn't know what you were wearing. I knew what you meant. Logan, what's up, buddy? I missed the first bit. Did they improve overheating? Yep. They radically improved overheating. As Sean said, I have the S1R Mark II. This is never going to be an unlimited camera. It's just not. But the S1 II, in many instances, comes close to being just that. I shot with this the other day and almost got an hour and 20 at 8K open gate before it shut down. It was an hour and 16, which is huge for me because it normally fluttered around 20 to 40 minutes. So big update. The S1 II's thermal performance is even better. Photokina was the best one. I never went. And build was so fun. I think, did we just hit the end of the comments? Guys, since Sean's gone, I don't think anybody really wants to be here anymore. But if you have some last minute questions, hit me up. I would love to go get some breakfast at some point and eat. I've been up since 3, so I've already been up for 7 hours. I could use some food. Anyway, yeah, send in your questions, last minute ones. If not, we'll probably shut it down. Thank you so much, though. This has been super fun. 40 people in the chat. That's awesome. 34 likes. I appreciate it. Can we get a few more? Like button. Don't be trash can. I clicked on a chat. Like a text message, and I was wondering why it didn't show up. Because it's a text message, you moron. Let's see. John. My pleasure. Seriously, I love doing these. I can't do live streams as consistently as I used to, but this is a big one, and I just kind of want to let you in on some stuff. So the project I've been working on for the last, we worked on it for like 2 months, and then we sent it in. It got cleared-ish. And it's pretty much like the biggest job, the biggest gig I've ever taken. It was way over my pay grade, but it was super fun to do. That is probably going to go live within the next week or two. I don't know when, but when it does, we're going to do a live premiere of that. And the person I worked on it with me is Portrait Poppy. That's what he goes by on Instagram. He's a phenomenal film photographer out of the Bay Area. He now lives here in Salt Lake, and that's how we got connected, is that he lived here, and he asked me to be the cinematographer on that project. I say cinematographer like it was a bigger project than it wasn't. I was just a video guy. I operated the camera. But we're really proud of what we made, and when that goes live, we'll do another live stream. That'll be the next one. Other than that, I don't foresee doing any live streams unless something big comes around. They're a lot of fun to do, but they're just difficult. I wish you could see the setup that went into this and how long it took. But I had a blast doing it. I love doing these. It's super fun to connect. Let's see. Build was so fun. It really was. It was awesome. If I could like your vid more, I would. I appreciate that. Don't even stress it. Did some tests with the ZR. I had like 2 hours of sleep the day leading to it. You're probably going to sleep like a baby. No, I never do. For all of my friends that really know me, go to bed around 8:30. It's one of the reasons why they call me grandpa. And I'm up around 3:30 most days. My brain just doesn't let me sleep more than like 6 hours. I wish. Very rarely do I get 7 or 8. I mean, it's kind of like a holiday. I just like, should I even work today? I've got so much sleep that I could go run a marathon if I liked running. I think YouTubers have a hard time showing or demonstrating the value of rangefinder visually, and I think you nailed it in your last video. More probe lens. Thank you. It's funny because that was one of the shots we really wanted to showcase with the MEV1 was the rangefinder experience on that, or the EVF experience on that camera. And I tried using a macro lens, a couple different macros, and they never worked. And it wasn't until we got like a probe lens and then basically got a Cine Jaws from Condor Blue and a Magic Arm. And then I can take this out now. And then we just like hard mounted it to the AVF, and that gave us the best results. And ever since then, I've kind of been like, man, I really want to use probe lenses more. You can get some wild looks out of them. But I appreciate that. Thanks, Logan. We miss 16 stops. Listen, if I was less busy, and we say less busy, Josh and I are both less busy. I just don't think either of us are really that interested in doing it anymore. The priorities have like shifted for both of us. It was a lot of fun. Josh is kind of doing his own thing. I'm kind of doing my own thing. And he's like knee deep in the middle of building another like studio. So even if we were to connect and we wanted to do it, it would be way down the road. Yeah, 16 stops would be a home improvement now. Good stuff. Looking forward to that project to drop. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited for it. I'm hoping it comes out soon. I wish you guys could get the behind the scenes of what's going on, but it's probably something we'll never be able to share. But just so you know, it hasn't been the easiest thing. It's been enjoyable, but the amount of like back and forths, especially with like the FCC limiting a bunch of things, it's just been tough. But excited to share it when we can share it. Cam, I ordered a probe lens because of those shots. I'm stoked you enjoyed them so much. I am super excited, selfishly, to see what you create with it. Which one did you get? That's what I'm interested in. I would really like to add one to what I do. I think they're super useful. They are hard to pack around because of the size, and they require a crap ton of light. Just FYI. I think the fastest one is an f8. Which is pretty fast. But yeah, you can get some really unique perspectives. I think you could do a lot of fun stuff with your motorcycle and like hard mounting to a motorcycle. Let's see. Hey, what's up, Mac? Oh, don't even stress it, man. God damn it, Mac. Why? You're killing me. Nice like of it. Thank you so much. I had a blast making it. I was really fortunate. So here's some BTS for you. Cam and those guys, super lucky and very deserving. I don't want to say lucky because lucky sometimes doesn't encapsulate really what some people do. Cam is lucky, but also very deserving of the opportunity to go to Leica. I, however, was purely lucky. There is no deserving. It's just, I just happened to have the camera for a good long while in my studio. That's very rare. Do you get that when like cameras are going out? You usually have to go somewhere, they fly you to some country, and then they shoot, and you're never really in a situation where you get to test the camera for a long time. Like Italy, it was very different. Cam could tell you. But anyway, I had it here in the studio, and so I was able to try to take a different approach than everybody else. And I don't think I quite nailed a different approach than everybody else, but I did get to test some performance side of things that other people just frankly didn't have time or the resources to test. So I got, again, I was purely lucky in that, but I'm glad you enjoyed the video. How's the ZR goat doing today? Good morning. Thank you. Somebody said that the other day and they're like, listen, I know you don't like that. It's not that I don't like it. I'm actually honored when people call me that. It is simply a sense of, I don't want people to think that the ZR is my only camera. Just like I told Sean on this stream, I love the S1R Mark II, but I love cameras I love my cameras way more than to be stuck to one camera. Whether that's Leica, whether that's Red. Like I just like shooting and I like the differences that other cameras provide. So while I love the ZR and I'm honored to be the ZR guy, I don't want people to peg me as just using the ZR. But I understand the privilege of being that unofficial authority. It's really cool when people reach out and they're like, hey, can I do this or do that? I've had some people that I never thought I would get to talk to that have reached out on behalf of the ZR. And I was like, wow, this is kind of crazy. Let's see. But Mac, thanks for the super chat, dude. You didn't have to do that. And thanks for watching the Leica video. Thomas, I'm excited for NAB this year and hopefully getting to go to Build too. Well, let's definitely connect when you come to NAB, man. Just ordered that cheap ass Story or whatever it's called. It was like $800. I mean, it's such a niche lens and it's such a niche use case lens, Cam. You're probably not bad. It probably wasn't the wrong move going like super cheap for the first one. But I know how much, I guess it's, when I say you're an image quality whore, I don't mean you're the guy that gets hung up on like sharpness or clinical like best, you know? You don't care about an MTF chart. So maybe there's something in that lens that you're just like, oh, I like that character. But if not, start trying the others. I was way behind and had to fast forward. LOL. It's all good. Agreed. One of the reasons I've owned like 8 different bodies in the last 5 months. Yeah, they're just fun, dude. Like I can appreciate an S1R Mark II while also saying my favorite photo camera is the M11P unequivocally. And it's not because the image is so much better out of this. It's because the experience is just the thing that I connect to. Photography for me is more than just going out and taking a photo. There is like a weird special attachment that I have to photography and taking photos that I can't get from anything else. I don't get it from shooting video. I don't get it from reading books. I don't get it from other art forms. There is something very cathartic and mental health sustaining that I get from taking a photo. I feel like I get to connect to pieces of history that I never belonged to when I take photos. And through that camera specifically, I feel more connected than with other cameras. And that is why I use it. It's not because like the image comes out and it's like, oh my God, it's the best. You can probably get the same image quality out of an XT3. What's up, B-Wash? Live stream looks amazing, bro. Love the setup. Thank you, dude. I appreciate it. All of the haze is now gone away. I did haze it, but haze only lasts so long. Holy shit, Terry Warfield. Buddy, I am so glad you're doing okay. I'm glad you're back in the States. I know we haven't really gotten to talk much, but I am stoked that I get to work with you in, what are we, like 2 months away? February? I guess 3 months? But I'm glad you're okay. Anytime you need something, hit me up, buddy. Image quality is great across all brands these days. The reasons to buy are the tools and the unique shooting experiences they offer. I think so. I think there are some things that people need, like specifically when it comes to work. Like if you're just shooting for yourself, then it really does come down to like experience. But I think if you are trying to make money with something, if there are certain requirements, it's a job, then there are probably like a baseline level of whether that's image quality, certain specs, frame rates that you have to have. And in that case, then you do kind of have to be specific with what you're doing. But overall, yeah, everything from that like $1,400, maybe $2,000 to like $4,000 range is so close nowadays. So really just like find the thing that just makes you happy, that works. Let's see. Mac, going to do any testing on the Vespid 2s. Just picked the 105 up and I'm loving it. I would love to try them at some point, but I'm not in a rush. I have so many lenses. I just got, let's see if my freaking Komodo is still powered up. It is. I just got the Typox. This is the 21 and it's the 50 that's shooting right now. These are really cool lenses and I think they're perfect for the ZR in a manual sense. And this 21 is amazing. The reason I got these is the close focus distance is ridiculous on these for an M mount lens. Like I have some rangefinder lenses, the Voigtlanders. The close focus distance on like the closest one is almost 2.5 feet. And with the 21, it's probably like 8 or 9 inches. I think it's 9 inches. So, like, I really like getting really close to my subjects. One of the reasons I love my Q2 is how close you can get at that wide, and I love that distortion. So, for me, the Typox were an instant buy. I know a lot of people don't want to pick them up because of the focus breathing, and it is bad. But I don't shoot in such a way where I'm constantly racking focus to where you would notice that. So for me, it's not a big deal. But these are wonderful. But I have to do a video for Typox. They gave these to me. They gave me those 2 lenses in return for a video. So I got to work on that before I start thinking about other lenses. I should have bought the set. Max says I should have bought the set, but I wanted to try it. It's all right. Yo, hello, folks. I kind of want to know if he's from the UK. Cam becomes Wolverine if he can't take a photo day. That's honestly not far off. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I get like that. I need to go shoot photography, specifically itch, in such a way that I get really upset if I can't. Frustrated, angsty. There are some days that no matter what you shoot, it's still not good enough and you still get that kind of feeling. But yeah, there are some days where I just need to get out and shoot so bad that I lose my shit if I can't. I know you said you don't want to be boxed to one camera, but if you could only shoot one brand, photo and video, what would you choose for now? I can't relegate it to one brand for photo and video. Right now, photo, Leica, just across the board, that shooting experience just works so well with my brain. Very minimal. This is great when you need all the buttons and stuff, but I don't shoot in such a way where I need this, and this honestly kind of gets in the way. Like my SL2S is, obviously it's not spec for spec, but it's a very similar type of camera, but I would shoot on the SL2S 10 times out of 10 if I was just shooting for myself for the most part, because it's so minimal. There's nothing to get distracted by. There's not so many settings that you're in the menus. That's the same with Q2, SL2S. The M11P is like the most stripped down thing you can possibly get when it comes to a digital, like mirrorless camera. That's the experience I want. I want to get caught up in the looking around for the photo. I don't want to get caught up in the camera to help me take the photo, if that makes sense. When it comes to video, Red, the tools, Red is also very much kind of like that. It's a very stripped down experience. They give you a crap ton of tools, but the menu is just so easy. And then the image that comes out of it with the R3D codec, they're so malleable that you can kind of make whatever you want. And I think part of that is I'm not good in the moment with photography or video. I'm not great at like seeing things before they happen and constructing them. That's why when we worked on this project and Jacob asked me to be the video guy for it, to like figure all of this out, it really stressed me out. I was like, dude, this is not how I make stuff. I make stuff in the edit. I'm great at like sitting down, taking the photo, and then going, oh, what if I did this? Or the video, like maybe if I played the colors this way and added this and this and this. So I'm not great in the moment. Red's codec really facilitates that like post side of things. I can change the white balance. I can change the ISO. And you can push and pull the crap out of them. So I really like Red and I really like Leica for their respective like formats. Kofi, just so you know, it's being worked on. Okay? I know you keep saying it. It's not the easiest thing in the world to get some random ass dude a sponsorship. I'm literally working on that for you. Working with Terry in Feb. New camera coming out. Nope. We are working on a short film with Michael Tobin, Tamara, and Kofi, actually. So I'm stoked. I'm going to be the set photographer. I'm pumped about it. Kofi is talent and something else. Kofi, I can't remember. Do you want to share? But yeah, so we're going to be working on a short film, and I'm pumped to do it. Photography slows you down, allows you time to think, reflect. If you are doing that kind of photography, because I've shot professional sports, and that's anything but slowing down. Yeah, stoked Kofi's doing better. What's up, Wash? These lenses have been in my cart for weeks. They're really good, dude. I really like the look out of them. Just so you know, tomorrow I'm coming out with a new video where I do talk about them. It's not the actual video, like the review video, but there's lots of stuff you'll see shot on the 21 and the 50. And if I'm being honest, I'm probably going to pull the trigger on the other three. I tried to get them from Typoc, but they were like, listen, dude, I don't know who you think you are, but you only have 20,000 followers. Like, we could throw a rock and hit somebody with 20,000 followers. So they ain't giving me shit. That's not true. They gave me 2. I'm pumped for them, but they are good enough that I'll probably get the rest of the set. Yeah, dude, Terry, we love you. And we're glad you're here. Would love to see the balance on the Typoc and the ZR. What does that look like? Yeah, I can show you. Uno momento, folks. Let's grab a thingy and a ZR. There's so many like mic stands and light stands that I gotta dodge. It's okay. Dun, 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 dun. There you go. Here. Boop. That is the size. That's the 21. That's the big one. The 50 is smaller. So pretty tiny. It's very easy to handle. I mean, the ZR is going to be front heavy until you get a grip on it. But these lenses aren't particularly heavy. They're dense. And they feel great. Like, they're very smooth. They feel really well made. They do not feel cheap at all. But that's what you're cooking with. And that's why I like them so much. The video that's coming out tomorrow is all about how this camera combo technically has completely changed my travel setup. I did a big photo adventure in Moab with Kyle Meshna, and I literally went from 2 big Pelicans and like a 40-liter bag down to one 25-liter bag, which is just nuts. without really losing much of anything. Like, yeah, the image quality isn't a Monstro. It's close, but it isn't. It isn't a KX. It's close. But in that situation, what I'm doing, like, it's just the better camera. And so, yeah, that video will come out tomorrow morning. So please watch it. Let's see. We are seeing Red Tech in Nikon bodies. Yeah, I mean, kinda. This isn't a red camera. I hope people understand that. This is not a red camera. Now, that being said, it doesn't mean that they can't put Red Tech in here. The people that freak out, and here's a mini rant. The people that use the excuse, we got to stop expecting them to put in red tools. This isn't a red camera. You're not really correct. And it's kind of an asinine logic to use because let me ask you this. Did Blackmagic get sued when they put in their own version of the traffic light system? No. Nikon got sued when they tried to add RAW though, right? And that's because the R3D codec is like the bedrock of what made Red Red. We talk about the tools and why and how they're so great, but Red wasn't suing people when they put relatively similar tools into their cameras, but they sued the shit out of Nikon and everybody else that tried to put a RAW codec in there, right? So if the ZR has a RAW a R3D codec in it, logic would then say it is a red camera because it has like the most red thing in that camera. So to me, they could absolutely put tools in there that come from Red because they are far less important than the codec, if that makes sense. Yeah. Rant over. You've seen the sale on their site for the full set plus the Kata zoom right now. It's like 4K or something crazy. Yeah, it is kind of wild. They have a 4-lens set that you can buy, but you can only buy it for Sony. That's so dumb. Like, why not make that set available for M-mount? Anyway, the M-mount versions are more expensive. They're $859, I believe, per lens. So I don't really want to spend that kind of money, but I also want more than 2 lenses, especially since they're good. Apparently Lumix S1 2 a few. Yep. We are getting Red Tech and Nikon bodies. Wondering when we'll get more Nikon tech in our red bodies. Anything you'd like to see come to your Komodo X? I actually had a really interesting conversation with my friend Philip. Philip's been in the red side of things for many years, and he was, dare I say, the first person to get the original Komodo OG. He got it like a year before it came out, and he was testing it. And we were talking about like what is coming down the Nikon pipeline and what is coming down the Red pipeline. I don't know so much on the Red pipeline, but on the Nikon side, I do think as good as the R3D codec is in this, it's not real Red. And I think they're going to abandon it. And I think they're going to put real R3D in there when they put an actual real Red sensor in one of their cameras. And I think that's going to happen. What would I like to see come to the Komodo X? I don't think we're going to really see that much come to the KX. I think in the next iteration of cameras, like in the Raptor Mark II, we're going to see that Nikon autofocus. I think that's going to be a huge selling point. You know, you'd probably see an updated Raptor X sensor with some real gnarly autofocus, because that's the only thing that Nikon could actually throw into a Red camera at this point. Red kind of like, as far as tools go, Red has the better tools. As far as video goes, Red has the better video. So the only thing Nikon could really give Red at this point is autofocus. But that's a huge thing to give. So if like Z8 level, Z9 level autofocus, actually this probably has better autofocus than those cameras. If the autofocus out of this went into that camera, that would be wild. And I'm super stoked for it. I'm from Perth. Dude, that's awesome. West Australia. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Now I'm going to go check it out right now. Brandon, how's that insurance looking though? You got the insurance to cover it? Yeah, they had a little bit of a vignetting, and I don't like having that much vignetting in my lens. if I need to fix it, I'll do it in post. Gotcha. Let's see. I do like the idea of a EV1, but ain't no way I'm spending that much on a camera. It's a lot of money. It is a lot of money. And as much as I love Leica, the used market is where you get a Leica. Don't buy new. And I'm sure Leica's watching this like, what the hell are you talking about? There's a lot of stuff on the used market, and you can get really, really, really good prices from Tim, or MPB actually has like really good prices on Leica. But let's not kid ourselves. As fortunate as we are, most of us, like the reality of spending more than like $2,000, $3,000 on a camera, that's a shit ton of money. When you throw down 10 grand for a camera, like I just won't do it anymore. I do it for an H6D 100C, and I would do it for a Reporter M11P, and that's about it. Other than that, like I'm just not spending that kind of money unless I know the ROI is there, because that's so much money. Hey, what's up, Ben? Really phenomenal how much the experience informs the creativity. I do, you know, it sounds like we agree. My mind really, here's another way to kind of put it. The optical viewfinder of an M11P makes my brain think about composing an image in an entirely different way than, let's say, the SL2S when I'm in the 3x1 mode. That's basically like the X-Pan. When I flip on X-Pan, I'm thinking about things in a completely different way when it comes to composure and what I think is a cool looking image compared to the M11P. Just from that simple aspect ratio change. And that's very minor. And then you tack onto that just like how the camera feels, how the buttons feel. What is the menu like integration like? How many times do I need to hit a button to make something happen? Like one thing every camera brand can take from Leica and Panasonic is like the long press of a button. That's just so many less steps than hit the button or go into the menu, find the custom controls, now assign the button. No, just hold it down, select the thing, done. Like that just makes your experience better. And then when you're actually out there using that button, you get to think about the photo more rather than the menu. And I like that. Trevor, what's up, B-Wash? It's awesome that we can have Brandon Washington in here, the goat of the live stream. Did I call you Kofi? I don't think I called you Kofi. Who's calling you Chill, Terry. Jesus Christ. I'm going to have another heart attack. Bro is so triggered right now. I know. Go sit down. This exchange is getting more. Wait, I didn't say anything. Kofi, I don't think I called you Kofi. I'm going to have to watch this back. No. You don't have to be sorry about the ZR comment. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm honored that people call me that, and people, I think, misconstrue me not wanting to be that is like something that I don't like. I just think it's unfairly given. There are people in the Leica community far more deserving of being an unofficial announcer or spokesperson than me. Like, this is my first Nikon camera. Am I happy to be in that position? Yes. But I also don't want people to think that I only want to talk about that camera. That's why I say, like, I don't know if I want that title. But it's nothing to be sorry about, that's for sure. Oh, damn. Dude, did I really even say? And it's did I really say Kofi? I'm sorry, Terry. Dude, I'm so yeah, they only gave me 2 as well. I tried for more. Man, maybe we should just call it a day. Yeah, see, and I just returned it. I had it and I just returned it because I didn't like it. The locking mount is really good. And the fact that they have redundancy on the lock, I love. However, my version wasn't milled very well. It continually got hung up on the mount, which I didn't like. I would, yeah, it just made me feel like I was going to break my mount sometimes. Working on a couple of videos, and by couple, Kofi means 9 by the end of next week. Anyone know when the ZR grip will ship? I ordered. It just depends on where from. If you order the small rig, who knows? Condor Blues, I think, is releasing in January. Nice. Thank you for showing that. I have a guy on my team that just purchased the Zoom for... Oh, okay. That's not for me. Condor Blue ZR case looks cool. Yeah, I got to use it, which was great. It looks awesome. I'm excited for it. There's some cool stuff with it that I can't share, but it'll come out in January. I'm pretty sure it's January. Lumix is back to the competition for camera of the year. Well done, Lumix. Yeah, they this overheating thing is big time. You suck. Man, all the black people are super angry at me right now in this live stream. It's okay. I get it. Thanks, Brandon. Hope you and everyone on the chat has a great Thanksgiving. Back to work, unfortunately. Thanks, Zach. Thanks for coming. Be wash. Bye. I like it. Just leave it here. God. Cam doesn't have like a... If there is a line, he is the habitual line stepper, for sure. Yeah, that's true. I showed up the day after Kofi got his. I feel like I'm the bad luck person. Brandon got his stolen like right before I showed up. In Houston, Kofi got his stuff stolen right before I showed up in Toronto. Kim and Terry. You called Terry me maybe 5 times. I don't know. You call me Kofi like 4. Well, hey guys, listen. Sometimes my brain can't keep up with the speed in which I say things. I'm sorry if you take it so personally. If you took it really personally, Terry, I don't have to work on that LaCroix deal for you. Hey, just think about the bigger picture. Think about the LaCroix. I get it. It's my fault. I get it. All right. Maybe I am. I don't mean to be, but maybe I am. Let's see, Montreal. Thank you. I'm so stoked. Guys, this was a lot of fun. I had a blast. Cam's on here with another Grandpa Talbot, I bet. Grandpa Talbot comment, I bet. No, Cam, that would mean I have to be there before it gets stolen. That's how that works. I can't steal it after it's been stolen by somebody else. I show up after it's been stolen. Anyway, guys, we're now 2 hours and 12 minutes into this. I've got to go get some food, and my dog is scratching at the door like a maniac. Anyway. Yep. Guys, I love you all. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you on the next one. Peace.